The Wits SRC has announced a conditional 24-hour ceasefire. The student leadership says the pause was requested by the Vice-Chancellor in order to engage with them. The announcement was made in the absence of SRC President Apiwe Mnyamana, who is suspended. Pule Letshwiti-Jones is monitoring the situation for us from Braamfontein, and he joins us from there now. This ceasefire announced during that conversation that you had with the SRC a little earlier about this much anticipated meeting with the Vice-Chancellor. How closer are we to that conversation finally happening, Pule?
Well, we're not quite sure yet as to when the Vice-Chancellor will be meeting the SRC within that 24-hour framework they've given out. But of course, to get more clarity on the situation, we're joined by the spokesperson of the institution, Sharona Patel. Thank you very much for speaking to us this afternoon on eNCA. Let's just start firstly with the announcement made by the SRC. Are you aware about it, and when will you expect the meeting to take place?
So the first we heard about it was from the media about half an hour ago. The SRC should actually put those demands through the Dean of Students, and if they really do, they need to request a meeting so that we can continue with dialogue and with engagement. We do believe that they've made 3 demands. The first demand was that the police be removed from campus. We've agreed to that. The police are off campus already, so there's no police on campus. The second is on the private security and the reduction of the private security. And we've agreed that as things calm down, and if there are no infringements on on anything, if there are no damage to property, if things are peaceful and calm, we will reduce the number of protection services people that we have gradually. And if they commit to that in writing, through the Dean of Students, we have no issue. But and we'll get the private security off the campus then. But we do need to have a commitment from the SRC that will in fact happen. No intimidation, no blocking of entrances, no disruption of lectures, and no damage to property. Those are 4 conditions then.
And what happens in terms of the meetings as well? Are you still going to be meeting officials from the Department of Higher Education? We understand there was supposed to be a meeting scheduled between yourselves and the Premier and officials from the National Student Financial Aid Scheme.
Sure. So we're open to meeting with everybody. If we can find, a way out of this, or a national conversation about things, that's fantastic. So the issues of historic debt, of accommodation, the caps of accommodation, all of that are issues that rest with the Department of Higher Education and Training and with NSFAS. So we need to have those national conversations. The universities are bearing the brunt of policies that are made high up. And we believe that the only way we can solve these major issues like historic debt is at a national level. At the moment, for example, students owe the university about R1 billion. So it's R1 billion that they're owing to us. If we continue like this and we continue to register all students who are academically qualifying but who who can't afford it, we'll be sitting with a far larger number. That will make us unsustainable. It means we'll close down or become ESCOM in a few years. What we have committed on, and where we've moved in terms of concessions on historic debt, is we've said students who are passing, who are academically qualifying, there's about 200 of them, and we have historic debt. We're willing to look at those students in the PCD category and to and allow them to register at least.
I know you don't want to be like the ailing SOEs as well, but have you made some presentations to the higher education and learning, of course, in regards to how they can financially bail you out to ensure that you can accept these students who want to come in and register?
Yeah, so I think there is a disconnect between policy that we have and the ideals that we have as a country. So we all agree that we should have access to quality, free, higher education, decolonized education. We all agree to that. The question is, who's going to pay for it? Right now, NSFAS is covering 600,000 Rand of people who have a household income of 600,000 or less. But the missing middle, no one's still catered for them. Yeah. Government says that they do have a plan, and we'll welcome that plan when it comes along. And we can only solve this by working with government, the private sector, and universities and students to solve this problem.
Sharona, just take us through the accreditation process when having to work with the landlords and, of course, accommodation companies. What do you take? What are some of the prospects that you look into? Because students are saying these are the same accommodations outside who are quite expensive and therefore they cannot top up.
Oh, not at all. So we actually negotiated with some of the major service providers in Braamfontein. At least we've got enough beds now, but we've negotiated with them. They've agreed to abide by the NSFAS cap of 45,000 rand for this year, and that students don't have to pay a deposit at all. So students who require one NSFAS and require accommodation can just go into those residences.
Okay.
The second is that we've dropped the 10,000 rand fee for Wits residences. So that's the second thing we did. And emergency accommodation, we've increased beds from 150 to 500. The SRC is now asking for 1,000. So the demands are shifting all the time, but we'll do our best to accommodate as many students in need as possible.
So the institution is aware about some of the students who are sleeping in libraries and, of course, in corridors of the premises as well.
Yes, so we had 14 names. We asked anyone, so we asked our security officers, anyone who you see sleeping in a lab or library, bring them to us and we find emergency accommodation for them. To date, through the Hardship Fund, we've helped between 500 and 600 people already to register with historic debt of 50,000 or less, and beds, in terms of beds, to find beds for them. So we've asked the SRC for those lists. All the ones we've got, we've accommodated them.
Right, so it seems like the only thing that's remaining or outstanding right now is the issue of historical debt.
It's historical debt. There's that. The other issue is the issue of suspensions.
Okay.
So,
I was about to get to that now. Are you lifting the suspensions? Because the president is not on campus still, and they're quite still upset about that, saying they will ceasefire for 24 hours. However, one of the issues or demands they want to be attended to is the issue of the suspensions to be lifted.
So, it's the executive, but it's also the university has taken a stance that people must be held accountable for their actions, that there must be consequences for people's actions. And in this case, the university is saying that it's suspended 5 people last Friday and Apiwe yesterday, and or the day before. And the reason for that is because they broke university rules, not because they were protesting. It's because people were intimidated, because of damage to property, etc. And so we can't treat SRC people specially. They must be treated as all other students. So we have to go through the legal process on that one.
So at this current stage, are you consulting with the legal representatives as well?
No, so this is an internal BITS process. It's an internal BITS legal process. So it's run by our own legal office, and it's run internally. So there's no need to go to the courts or anything like that.
So safe to say you will not be speaking to the president?
No, so the president must be, if he's got any representations to make, he has to do those through the Dean of Students.
All right, thank you very much. That's Shirona Patel giving us an update on the situation here at the Wits University.
Okay, Pule Letshwiti-Jones with the very latest on the Wits shutdown.